any reason, please feel free to do so. I value communication. I do not believe that means that we can only talk about things that are fluffy and happy all the time. In fact, I don't think that's very effective communication. I don't think it's very honest, but I'm natured a little differently. I'm a little weird. I'm going to talk about a few things today and tell you how I feel about them. That doesn't mean I want you to agree with me. It means I'm being honest and telling you how I feel about them. And you've got my business card, you've got my cell phone number. I want to hear how you feel about these issues. You're going to have two numbers on there. One is a number to my office, and you can reach my legislative assistant there or me if I'm in the office, and one is my cell number. If you call one of those numbers, you're going to get an immediate response from someone who's very knowledgeable. And if that doesn't work for you, call my cell number and you'll get me. Because my legislative assistant is the one who's very knowledgeable on most of these issues. She's very helpful. I appreciate the kind words. I appreciate the nature of our communication and our interactions because I do think that they're very forthright and very candid. I am serving in the General Assembly not because I care anything about being called senator or I like living out of my car or living separate from my family. I want to do some things for the East. I want to do some things specifically for Lenoir County, everybody east of 95, and the state of North Carolina as a whole. But let's be very clear. I want to help people in the East. I feel we've been left behind on several issues over time, whether intended or not, but we are where we are, and we do face financial difficulties. We face headwinds. We've got to think a little differently. So when you do call me or text me or email me about your ideas, there's a few things I want you to know about me. I believe in small town values. I don't care if you're a Democrat or a Republican. I don't care who you voted for. If you want to make this community better and you want to help our children, because they are the seeds of our future, then I want to talk to you. And I want us to be able to do something that other people don't seem to be able to do. I want us to figure out how to do it together. Because what I see doesn't work. What I see seems broken in many instances. I see people who don't believe that you can have a difference of opinion and still be friends. I believe that you can have a difference of opinion and still love each other. How many of you are married? I mean, you know, maybe you get your way all the time. I don't. I appreciate Chris letting me come up here second. I have 3 daughters and a wife. I'm not accustomed to getting the last word, so it feels good to be up here now. I'm going to touch on a few topics that Brent shared. And listen, when I'm here in the district, please just call me Jim. They get on me about following protocol in Raleigh, and I've got to play the game and respect the institution, but I'm just Jim. A few things I'll touch on, and a few bills that have been filed. You mentioned master's pay, and I was a co-sponsor of Senate Bill 28 to bring back master's pay for certain degrees in certain areas. Do I think that that's going to pass? No, I don't. So I'm just being very honest with you. I filed a bill for Senate Bill 134 to require economics and financial literacy in the education system. I believe in that. I believe in that with a great deal of passion. Do I think it's going to pass? I don't know. It's got a lot of headwind. But those are the kind of conversations I think we should have as a community. Those are the things that I think we should discuss and focus on. Senate Bill 170, I was a co-sponsor of, expanding the principal's bonus pay. Just a bill of local interest, Senate Bill 183, I was the primary sponsor on. That was to provide funding to establish a new Brody School of Medicine. Because I believe a healthy East Carolina University is good for the East. I think it's good for our entire region. And I think that we need to come together on things like that and understand what's for the benefit of the greater good. Senate Bill 225, that is a repeal of the UNC system's tuition surcharge, where if a kid had too many hours that transferred, mom and dad got a surprise bill for tuition plus 50%. If you had hit, I think it was 140 was the number of hours. If you hit that number of hours, and you didn't have that degree that required 120 hours, you got a surcharge. I think that was well intended, but when I had a local constituent raise that concern, and when we looked into it, I can tell you who was getting hit the hardest, and it was small town people. It was community college transfer students, it was prior military, it was minority students, it was the people that we certainly don't want to hurt. You don't want a kid living in school all their life, but we don't want to put up a barrier to entry to someone who's trying to improve their life and become more productive. I think that bill will pass. We've had 2 really good hearings in committee. I think it will go to the floor of the Senate this week and be sent to the House. We do have support in the UNC system and by the UNC Board of Governors and the education chairs in both chambers. So I think we'll see success with that. Senate Bill 319 is a bill that I co-sponsored with one of my fellow freshmen, and that does change the weighting to the 50-50 plan. But I want you to know something. We started working on that long before I was a lawmaker. Before the hurricane, in fact, the state superintendent was scheduled to come down here to sit with Principal Solomon, Superintendent Williams, myself, and Representative John Bell to discuss this issue, to see if we could get traction inside from DPI. Because we understand, and I understand from being a volunteer in the school systems, that Charlotte-Mecklenburg's problems are not Lenoir County's problems. Our problems are more localized. Our opportunities for success are different. And that if you're a principal in a double income family with both parents at home or college graduates in Mecklenburg County, and you're throwing up B's as your school grade every year, that's not as impressive as someone who has 98% poverty in the school system, one-parent homes, no one reinforcing education for the child, and yet that school turns out a D. Well, that could be a heavier lift than a principal in Mecklenburg who's cruising to turn in those B's. And those are the kind of conversations we need to have at the state level and the local level. Now, I'll push back on a couple of things, and that's my nature. So again, you got those cards and that number. Feel free to disagree. Disagreement does not bother me. I think it's healthy when we have debate, we get to the meat of some issues. I believe we should have more local control for the school systems. I believe you should also have more local accountability in the school systems. I think, again, our problems are different. There are people in this room that have known me for a long time, and some of you are very comfortable pushing back on me and giving me feedback. Some a little too comfortable. Mac Dalby's been yelling at me since I was about 15, so he's really comfortable with it. But Mac always stressed to me the idea of being in the school system, and that's something I want to give him credit for, because he will go in the school system, he will talk to the teachers. He cares, he understands. I'm not saying anyone else doesn't, but I know he does. Craig Hill certainly understands the school system. Between he and his family, I think they're running about half of it still. A lot of tradition there. Linda Sutton's been in the school system, been at every meeting. If you ever look at all the meetings in the community she attends, I don't know how she does it. If you take her pay and divide it by the hour, she's making about 22 cents an hour for all the time she gives our community. I would tell you around the state it's not that way. It's not that way with our county commissioners around the state. It's not that way with school board members. Some of them haven't been in the schools. I don't know how we know what's going on unless we're there and we have a flavor for it. I'm in favor of a bill that requires state lawmakers to be substitute teachers at least one full day a year. I'm not talking about showing up, taking it. Around October, November, you see a lot of elected officials at the school system, right? And they're taking a selfie with a jacket on and then they leave. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about understanding what's going on in the school system. You know what I'm talking about. Because it really opened my eyes, the amount of parenting that teachers do, the amount of time they spend loving children and supporting children, because the kids aren't getting what they need somewhere else. The amount of time we have to spend on discipline. It really opened my eyes to a lot of things about education. I think it's good for everyone to have those perspectives. Local school calendars, I told Chris I was going to tell on him. He did file that local bill. Now there's an unwritten rule about filing local bills. You don't do it unless your local delegation knows about it. And Chris popped a surprise on me. I found out about it. We were at a the superintendent's meeting, and someone said something to me about it. They said, hey, thanks for filing that local bill. And I went, yeah. So then I found out about it when we talked about it. Chris and I grew up together, if you guys didn't know that. So we have a very, very good relationship. And he works hard up there. I go to his office about 10 every morning, wake him up, and we get... I'm kidding. Chris is he's a very kind person, easy to talk to, and he's a great representative for us. There are some things that I don't believe in. I don't believe that kids in our school system who can't do the work should pass their grade. I don't believe in that. So you can disagree with me on it, tell me how important it is, but I don't believe in it. I think we're failing our community and our society when we do that. A 16-year-old being able to make a decision to drop out of the school system. I've had 16-year-olds. They don't make really good decisions, especially when they're for the rest of their life. So I don't believe in it. And I know there's differing views, and some instructors say, well, if they don't want to be there, we don't want them in our classroom. I get all that. But I think dialogue and communication is important. And I'll tell you that education is resistant to change. It's resistant to new ideas. And if you don't believe me, ask some of these teachers what happens when they bring ideas up. Some of you instructors, some of our administrators at the state level going and asking for change. It is resistant to new ideas. I don't believe in that. I think we need entrepreneurial activity. I think everything must evolve. Everything's got a life cycle. And if we continue to do things for the next 25 years the way we did them for the last 25, what's going to change? How are we going to make more progress? I think there's a lot of great ideas in the education world today. A lot of people who would do some things differently and try some different things, but when the bumpers are too tight, you stifle creativity. When you have too many rules coming down from Raleigh about what you can and can't do, it stifles creativity. When we've got ridiculous amounts of testing in the classroom, and the teachers are spending 25% of their time parenting or on discipline issues with the kid, it stifles their ability to teach. So I'm in favor of more local control. Is that bill going to pass to allow you to have local control of your school calendar? No, it's not. It's not. Are we going to go up and have additional communication in Raleigh on the issue? We are. Now you want to know why that bill's not going to pass? Because there's opposition to it. And it's not me, it's not some mean old lawmakers. There's always competing interest in a community. And on one side of this issue, there's travel and tourism folks at both ends of our state, in the mountains and at the coast. Business pushes back on that. There's always a story behind a bill. It's really easy to kill a bill. That's one of the easiest things in the world. Somebody proposes legislation, you can kill it. One of the hardest things to do is pass it. Because it's like taking a football 99 yards on a football field with somebody playing defense on it. It's hard to score. And it's hard to move that thing with all the provisions that you wanted, things that you believe in, things that are good. It's hard to get them to become policy because someone's against it. And it's not always who you think it is.